我们来看一下全球的疫情，全球的疫情在欧美还是相当的严重，有的是到了一个高峰，以为会慢慢下来，但是下来的速度还是很慢。美国的首席传染病学专家佛奇的看法是，高峰还没有到。他同时批评之前很多的报道，还有很多的医学专家的谈话。他说：“你们太早的告诉老百姓说这个疾病没有 Delta 严重，于是大家就失去了防护性。可是 Omicron 它的传播力是 Delta 的4倍，它可以在空气中传播。另外，传统的口罩没有用，还得戴上 N95 或是 N94的口罩。而原来的疫苗对于 Omicron 有些防护力，甚至经过半年之后会下滑到只剩20%、30%，所以必须要打加强针。打了加强针还是有可能突破性感染，但是可以防止重症，但他身上的病毒量还是可以传染给别人。而美国有很多人没有打疫苗，或者是全世界有非常多11岁以下的小孩、5岁以下的小孩是没有疫苗可以打的。在这样的情况里头呢 ，Omicron 传播到非常多的地方，瘫痪了很多的医院。而美国的总统 Joe Biden 他要求医护人员一定要打疫苗，这件事情最高法院是同意的。最高法院只有不同意说私人企业100个人以上一定要打疫苗，医护人员这一点他们是同意的，但是这也导致很多绝对不肯打疫苗的医护人员就干脆辞职了。所以医护人员现在面临了整个医院里头面临人手不足，但病人越来越多，而且非常可怜，这些病人很多都是1岁以下的小朋友。这件事情当然也影响 Joe Biden 在全国的声望。他刚上来的时候，使他声望大增的就是用疫苗不断的施打，而且布在所有的民间机构，包括沃尔玛等等卖场，快速的打疫苗。可是随着美国永远停留在63%的2剂，再也上不去，有37%的人，不管是不能打疫苗，还是不肯打疫苗，还有不肯戴口罩，这件事情使他的防疫失败。而这次 Omicron 又太早发出一个讯息说它是一个流感化的错误讯息，导致了大家的松懈，所以这也使得 Joe Biden 现在面临了非常低的社会声望。
In one 12-hour shift, we had 6 patients die under the age of 50. And as quickly as they got those beds cleaned, there was more patients there.
A patient grabbed my hand and he begged me to not let him die. Sorry. And I told him that we would do everything we could within our power. And I felt like I was ready to fall apart, but I couldn't because the patient in the next room needed me.
2 years into the pandemic, COVID is surging.
Still, nearly 700,000 new cases a day, still higher than any time in the pandemic, an average of nearly 2,000 lives every day. And the team struggling on the front lines want people to know this is not over.
4 historic crises, all at the same time. The worst pandemic in over 100 years, the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression, the most compelling call for racial justice since the 60s, and the undeniable realities of climate change.
Since his inauguration, more than 400,000 Americans have died from the coronavirus. The economy has yet to regain more than 3 million jobs it lost during the pandemic. The world experienced one of its warmest years on record, and Congress failed to act on police reform and voting rights measures, even as some states enacted voting restrictions. And despite having passed coronavirus relief and infrastructure packages, Biden yet again finds himself running into the unpredictability of the virus, as well as the limits of his office.
纽约时报列出了拜登这一年对抗新冠所面对的挫折。
For all this progress, I know there's a lot of frustration and fatigue in this country. And we know why. COVID-19.
拜登在2021年1月上任后，制定了一份200页的新冠病毒应对策略。过去1年，他为包括将近85%、12岁以上的美国人接种了至少1剂疫苗，使美国在对抗病毒方面比1年前好得多。但好得多仍远远不够。
President Biden is to be commended for the exceptional work that he and his team did when it came to vaccine distribution, and that was our number 1, number 2, number 3 focus for those initial months.
Today, we hit 200 million shots.
President Biden and his team really put all their eggs into the vaccine basket and neglected several other components. One is testing.
纽约时报称，美国 CDC 主任2021年7月就收到报告，麻州有打过疫苗的人出现了突破性感染，是 Delta 变种。但当时白宫一心一意专注在疫苗，而忽略了疫苗没能100%变种病毒阻止染病的事实。第二点，正如同先前教授所言，纽约时报也指出，拜登政府缺乏对检测的重视，直到秋天才开始大幅增加家庭快筛供应。但此时 Delta 已经横扫全美，缺乏远见使得美国人难以找到可以快速确定自己是否染疫的工具。
Should we have done more testing earlier? Yes. But we're doing more now. We've gone from 0 at-home tests a year ago to 375 million tests on the market in just this month.
As the first free N95 masks arrive at select grocery stores and pharmacies in the Midwest, Americans are also starting to receive their free home COVID test kits, with millions more expected to arrive in the coming days.
Americans are living in very different realities. That's going to be the big challenge going forward, is how do we all adapt to what it means to live with COVID? But that depends on a very clear strategy and disciplined message from the White House, which currently is missing.
这也是《纽约时报》提出的第3点。拜登小心翼翼地对口罩、防疫措施、疫苗护照，甚至施打疫苗本身推出了明确的指令，因为他担心引起共和党人的反弹，进一步加深政治分歧。不过这一切都是徒劳。
70% say America has become so polarized that the federal government can no longer solve the major issues facing this country. That is up a whopping 34 points from a decade ago. Just 24% say Biden has done a good job uniting the country.
I think he's wish we could just shut up and agree and listen to each other.
Asked to describe America in their own words in our NBC News poll, voters used the words divided, negative, lost, bad, and downhill. Though the two parties are deadlocked on the question of who should control Congress, Republicans now have a double-digit advantage on interest in the election itself. Disparities like that led to big one-party waves in 2006, 2010, 2014, and 2018. There has been a significant drop in interest among the Democrats' core voting groups since October. Urban voters down 16 points, young voters down 17, and African Americans down 21 points.
You seem to be a little bit disappointed.
I am. The majority of his voting bloc, I feel that he's ignored us.
Do you think that President Biden has fought hard enough for the priorities of black voters?
I do not.
President Biden is walking a tightrope. In addition to flagging enthusiasm in the base, he faces eroding support among independents.
400 anti-voting bills have been introduced in 48 states. It will absolutely have an impact on these November midterms.
On the economy, Biden has focused his actions on ending the pandemic-induced recession. 1 year later, he has largely accomplished this, but has continued to face surging inflation, supply chain bottlenecks, and the recovery's uneven toll on the lowest earning Americans.
The big disappointment last year, I think, was the surge in inflation, and a lot of that was related to the disruptions to global supply chains, which was precipitated by the Delta variant of the virus. And it not only hit us hard, but it hit the rest of the world even harder, particularly Asia, where a lot of the supply chains begin.
因而，就算就业增加，失业率减少，仍有61%的美国家庭表示他们入不敷出。
It's almost $400 just to go to the grocery store for 3 people. I mean, that's insane.
在艰难的处境里，专家看到了一丝希望。
Positive COVID-19 case numbers trending down in some states. According to Johns Hopkins University, the U.S. is averaging over 639,000 new cases per day. That's a 14% decrease over last week.
Things are looking good. We don't want to get overconfident, but they look like they're going in the right direction right now.
The CDC cited new data saying booster shots are at least 90% effective in preventing hospitalization.
Now is the time to do what we know works. Wear a mask, get vaccinated, and get boosted.